Let's get some broader analysis. Ian Reifowitz joins us, Professor of History at the Empire State College in New York. Ian, as ever, thanks for being with us. What are the implications of this second meeting with Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin?
It's very, very strange, to say the least. We've been saying, I've been saying, and many people have been saying for about 2 years now that we've never seen anything like this before in relation to Donald Trump. We said it as a candidate, and we're saying it now for him as a president. The idea that he would not only have an unscheduled meeting with another head of state, but that he would have one without being attended by any officials, without bringing his own translator, is essentially handing Vladimir Putin a huge advantage. And remember that any meeting between heads of state is one where important decisions can be made, where intelligence can be shared unwittingly, perhaps, as Trump has already shown, given that he accidentally shared some intelligence in a White House meeting. So the fact that he didn't have anybody there with him, the fact that that Putin had his own translator there, tells me that Donald Trump really is an amateur when it comes to the job of president. And that's a scary thing, because the last thing that Vladimir Putin is an amateur. He is a professional.
Indeed. I think many people sharing your point of view. Trump, he never seems to tell a straight story, does he? Because obviously he's not come clean about this willingly. This has now emerged. He's called the media sick for doing its job and revealing this kind of thing happened. I wonder how all this is playing in the US, Ian.
Well, I think, you've got to separate the people who are hardcore Trump supporters, which is maybe about a third of the population, that if Donald Trump said that the sky was green, they'd believe him. And anybody who criticized or questioned that would be propagating fake news. But if we take that 1/3 of the public aside, I think the rest of the American public is concerned, to say the least. But on the other hand, people have their everyday problems. They need, they need to feed their families. They need to make sure they've got a job. So I think for a good chunk of the population, they're really waiting for some kind of action, whether it would be action taken by Congress or more likely action taken by the special prosecutor. But what Donald Trump Jr. did in not only what he did in the meeting, but in just taking the meeting. And remember, that's really the key. Whether or not with the information that he received came from the Russian government is less important than the fact that he took a meeting after being told the information was coming from the Russian government. And it wasn't just Donald Trump Jr. It was the campaign manager, Donald Trump's campaign manager, Paul Manafort. It was Trump Jr. and it was super advisor and Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. This is essentially the Trump brain trust, especially at the point in June before Steve Bannon came on, when Manafort was almost a one-man campaign running this thing. They took a meeting knowing that the information, or at least being told that the information was coming from the Russian government. And since then, you've heard Donald Trump say, well, anybody would have done this. Anybody would have taken this meeting. That's really not true. You've heard Republicans say the opposite. You had the example in real time of Al Gore in 2000 when he was running against George W. Bush. His campaign received information in the mail. The first thing they did was call the cops. They called the FBI. They didn't look for more information. They didn't take more information. So I think that shows you the difference between a campaign that respects political ethics, that has some honor, and another one that's willing to put itself essentially in the pocket of a foreign government and take information from them without knowing necessarily what they'd have to deliver in return.
Ian Reifowitz of Empire State College there in New York, thank you so very much indeed. The revelations, as Ian points out, some people are saying it's making Watergate look like small beer. Who knows what the next implication could be for President Donald Trump, but certainly as more revelations come out, more and more pressure on his White House.